Today, let's take a look at how to set and meet the goal of writing a short story in a week. This may seem impossible at first, but I'll walk you through my 10-step process, which I've broken down into 3 easy stages. As a writer, I know that one of the most important steps in completing your work is planning it. And that starts in stage 1. Pick your genre and research it for inspiration. The best way to plan your story is to outline it. If you haven't seen my previous video on how to outline a story, check that out. I'll put a link on the screen for that. Putting your outline together will involve you picking your story's genre and researching it for inspiration. There are many possible genres you can write about. As a professional, you can ideally write in the genre you're asked to, but even professionals specialize in specific genres, so it is always helpful if that genre is something that you're interested in and inspires you. Selecting from fantasy, the paranormal, romance, science fiction, or horror will help the pieces and structure of your story emerge more clearly and organically. Budgeting your efforts and time is also important when writing a long work. Spending too much time on one piece can lead to writer's block, which can be a serious problem and obstacle to overcome. There is a law called Parkinson's Law, which states that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. So if you have no time set, you'll take forever to finish your story, continuously refining and researching it. Everyone has different ideas about how long they need to spend on a project before they are done, but it is always better to give yourself a set amount of time than trying to find ways around it. For example, not finding the right spot to write for your project. Setting a goal of writing a short story in a week helps you to budget and time box your research time versus your outlining and writing time. Many writers do not give enough time to editing. This can be a problem when you are writing a work that takes more than one day, and the longer the work, the harder it is to edit. Editing isn't something that is done once you have finished or during your research phase. Rather, it is an ongoing process throughout the writing of your project. Many people find editing difficult because they may not know how to edit their work, but this doesn't mean you shouldn't. Writing is rewriting, and so make sure you leave plenty of time to rewrite your story as you edit it every day. There are many possible genres you can write about. Pick one and research it to find more inspiration. But make sure to time box yourself so the whole week doesn't go by in the first stage. Once you have your genre, researched it, and outlined your story, you are ready for stage 2. It's time to structure and plot your story. Here are my 10 steps you can follow to structure and plot your story in a week. Step 1. Start by identifying your story's central conflict or problem. This is the main obstacle or challenge that your main character, the protagonist, will face throughout the story. Step 2. Develop your main character. Who are they? What are their goals, motivations, and conflicts? What makes them unique? Step 3. Choose a setting for your story. This can be a specific location or time period, and it should be relevant to the story you're telling. It helps to treat the setting like a character. Step 4. Establish the main plot of your story. This is the series of events that make up the main storyline, and it should revolve around your protagonist's efforts to resolve the central conflict. Step 5. Introduce any secondary characters or subplots. These can add depth and complexity to your story, but be careful not to let them distract from the main plot. Step 6. Determine the rising action of your story, which is the series of events that lead up to the climax, which is the most intense or dramatic point in your story. Step 7. The climax is the turning point of the story, where the protagonist must make a crucial decision or face a final challenge. Get the popcorn because it's getting exciting now. Step 8. The falling action follows the climax and shows the consequences of the protagonist's actions and the resolution of the central conflict. Step 9. End your story with a resolution, which should wrap up any loose ends and provide a sense of closure. Finally, step 10, rewrite. Reread your story from the start and evaluate its flow. Be critical and remove and simplify the story to make it easier for the reader. Remember to keep your story focused and stay true to your central conflict or problem. It can also be helpful to outline your story before you start writing, to give yourself a roadmap to follow. With some planning and effort, you should be able to write a compelling story in a week. As you edit and rewrite the narrative as a whole, it may help to think of these 10 steps as being in 3 sections or the following classic 3 acts. The first section is the introduction, where we are introduced to the protagonist, their background, and their story. The section also includes a prologue that provides a backstory for the protagonist. The second section is where we explore the protagonist's world and learn about what they do in their day-to-day life. The section also can include a couple of parts that are flashbacks to provide more information about the protagonist's past, or leave that out to make it mysterious. The third and final section is where all of the threads come together and we find out how everything turns out for our protagonist. Section can include an epilogue that ties up all of the loose ends from earlier in the story, or an afterword that provides some thoughts on what it means to be human in this day and age. Finally, the third and final stage is to start writing. This stage is critical, and there are 5 things to remember to stay motivated for the week as you write. 1. Remember the benefits of writing. Writing can be a great way to express yourself, explore new ideas, and exercise your creativity. It can also be a therapeutic and fulfilling hobby. 2. It's also a way to share your own unique experiences. I can't even express the joy and satisfaction I've personally gained from writing my own stories, and I'd like to encourage you to give it a try for yourself. 3. Find someone who can offer support and encouragement. You need to believe in your ability to write a great story. Grab a friend to help you brainstorm ideas or provide feedback on your writing. Let us know in the comments what your idea is. 4. Having a goal of writing a story in a week is an achievable goal, so don't worry if you go over by a day or 2. Remember to set small, achievable goals for your writing, such as writing a certain number of words each day or completing a specific section by a certain date. This helps you feel a sense of progress and accomplishment. 5. Finally, remember that everyone had to start somewhere. No one is a perfect writer right out of the gate. It takes time, practice, and patience to improve. It's critical to just start writing and not worry too much about perfection, as you can always revise and improve your work later. And that's it. I hope to read your next story real soon. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking it. It helps the channel out, and subscribe for your dosages of writing tips. Let us know in the comments what your story is. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure the community would too. Until next time, keep writing.